You're watching Swipe. Coming up on this week's show,
printing the perfect fit. Is this the sound of the future? And things get paranormal in our games review.
hello and welcome to Swipe. This week we're at the London-based startup behind a new kind of musical instrument taking off around the world. I'll get a closer look at that later. But first, Chris has been checking out the latest ways 3D printing is helping people with disabilities, including creating custom-built wheelchairs.
This is the world's first 3D printed wheelchair, a prototype that's been 2 years in the making. The idea is that each individual model is created based on the user's biometric data, meaning it's made to measure and can cater for a range of disabilities and lifestyles.
There are a lot of aches and pains and sores and injuries on injury that are caused by ill-fitting wheelchairs. And really 3D printing and scanning and that idea of translating the human body into digital data and then a piece of hardware seem to answer the brief of being able to create something really, truly bespoke.
This product is the first of its kind, but the concept of 3D printing isn't entirely new when it comes to wheelchairs. Some people have been using the technology to customise existing models. The group Hack on Wheels sees people meet regularly to thrash out ideas and designs for parts to improve their wheelchairs. These are then taken to a workshop and brought to life through 3D printing. It's a cost-effective way for them to make their lives better.
I was finding it increasingly difficult and painful to push my brake off and on. Sort of came up with this after playing around with a few things and sort of thinking about width and something that wasn't going to interfere with the rest of my chair or prevent me pushing. It just makes it so much easier because when I'm putting my brake on, I'm using all of the heel of my hand, and so there's nothing digging in and causing me any pain. There really isn't anything like this.
Over time, the group's founder wants to build an online resource of free-to-use, shareable designs.
I think it would be really amazing to be able to simply go to your local makerspace in whatever country you happen to be in, go online, access the online library of open source designs and print what you need.
And other charity groups like Motivation have plans to send 3D printing kits overseas. They already build wheelchairs in third world countries, and this technology could speed up production.
The thing with 3D printed anything is it seems to be a new technology, and I first heard of this to do with artificial limbs and the way that they're kind of doing that, and it's now opening up artificial limbs to perhaps countries where it was for a lot of people disproportionately expensive and unaffordable. So maybe this will be the case next for 3D wheelchairs.
Products like this one aren't ready for consumers just yet. But with the World Health Organization estimating there are some 65 million wheelchair users worldwide, there's certainly a high demand for more tailored designs. Chris Creegan, Sky News.
Stay tuned as we get in tune. That's coming up after a roundup of some of this week's tech news.
A drone taxi capable of carrying one passenger has reportedly been cleared for test flights over Nevada in the US. The Chinese-built EHang 184 is completely electric and can fly at speeds of up to 62 miles per hour. It can only cover short journeys, though, no longer than 23 minutes. Amazon started delivering fresh food in the UK this week. The service kicked off in London, but it's already been operating in the US for nearly a decade. Amazon said customers can order their full weekly food shop and get a refund if they're not happy with the freshness. A startup in Singapore has created what it's calling the world's smallest astronomy camera. The tiny one fits in the palm of your hand and is compatible with telescopes and connects to your phone, so you can share your pictures on social media. Its makers are raising money on Indiegogo to take the camera into production. And new on Kickstarter this week, the watch for children who can't tell the time yet. The octopus shows pictures indicating when it's time to do things like eat breakfast and brush teeth. The team behind it says it helps kids understand time by association. They're fundraising to pay for their first production run. In a moment, we'll be taking a trip to Morocco with Agent 47. Stay with us for our games review.
Now, about that new kind of musical instrument I mentioned earlier. This is it. It's called the Seaboard, and this is Roland playing it beautifully. Hello. Hi. Tell me about this, because this is just one part of a wider Seaboard family.
That's right. So this is the Seaboard Rise 49, and the Seaboard is a new musical instrument that's an evolution of the piano keyboard. So you can play it just the way you would play a piano by, striking each of these different keys. But then in addition, you can use intuitive gestures to control the nature of the sound after you've struck a note.
What's an intuitive gesture?
Well, for example, once I've struck the note, I can then glide left to right to create a vibrato.
Oh, I see. Is that down to sensors underneath, or...?
That is, yeah. This whole thing is a very information-rich sensor array, and so whatever micro gesture I use, it will change the sound a little bit.
Is that a specific material that only works with that kind of technology?
This is a kind of silicone compound that we've created that works with the sensors in the Seaboard, but that also replicates something of the dynamics of a piano keyboard. So like when you strike it, you get a little bit of a bounce back, and it has this these raised things we call key waves, so you can actually feel where you are even with your eyes closed.
So how difficult is it to invent an entirely new musical instrument and to get people to pay attention and actually want to play it instead of existing instruments?
Well, it's pretty hard, and judged by the fact that it's very rare. So although the Seaboard is part of the keyboard family, it's actually quite a distant relative. And because it offers so many new dimensions of touch and of expression, people all around the world are taking it up and using it, and we're excited to see it really well on its way to becoming a bona fide musical instrument. People are, on tour with it and making albums with it. People like Tom Odell and Katie Tunstall, and even Stevie Wonder, who's a personal hero of mine now, is using the Seaboard, so it's pretty exciting.
Well, let's hear some more of those 5-dimensional sounds.
All right.
From music to games now, here's what Gav has been playing this week.
There's been a lot of fuss about walking simulators recently, and Soul Axiom is one of these, but it's a little bit more involved. Basically, you're in this world called Elysia, which is, I guess, kind of like a server for souls in the afterlife is the best way that I can explain it, which sounds mad, I know. And whereas like walking simulators sort of let the story wash over you, in Soul Axiom, you're a little bit more involved because there's a lot of puzzle things involved. It's kind of like upgrades and things you can find as you try and figure out exactly what's going on. It's a game from a small company in Wales called Wales Interactive. They've had a couple of first-person games that have really sort of taken my interest, and it feels like they're on the cusp of like really releasing something that's going to be really, really good, which I'm really excited to see.
Now.
So you've heard of walking simulators? Oxenfree is kind of a talking simulator. So it's a game which puts you in control of Alex, who's on a really, really small personal journey with her friends.
Well, if your room's close to Alex's, you should be careful since she snores like a truck.
The way that you experience the world is not sort of experiencing it by looking at it, it's more like chatting. So a lot of it is to do with like dialogue options and choices that you make. So you interact with different characters, and the way that you interact them is going to pay off sort of further down the line. It makes you feel really bad about sort of decisions you make in real life, because you start making these like small decisions, what you think are small decisions in Oxenfree, and then you realise that actually they're not small decisions at all, and they have a massive bearing on what's going on. And that's kind of what happens in real life, I suppose. So it makes you realise actually maybe you're a bit of a terrible person, but it's really creepy as well, because there's lots of things going on. It's like this really weird radio sort of crackle thing that you've got going on. It's really hard to talk about without spoiling it, but you're not quite sure what's going on, and even after finishing it, I'm not that sure. But it's only just come out on PS4, so if you haven't experienced it yet, it's an amazing chance to go back and do it. So Hitman Chapter 3 sees you in control of Agent 47 again, and you're off to Marrakesh this time. Now, I really like the way that they're releasing these games episodically, because it gives you a chance to really sort of, I don't know, just like take advantage of the fact that you've only got access to this one little bit, and it's not little, it's actually pretty big, but you can experience it over and over again. And my favorite thing about it is you get these like really little personal stories. So my favorite one at the moment was I was kind of walking around, you had to kill this general, And there's loads of ways of doing it, obviously. You can do different kinds of things. You can poison him. You can go for like straight up murdering him with a knife or a gun. But what I did was I kind of tricked these two guys who were sort of talking about him behind his back. I switched on a PA system that was right next to them. Then he ended up hearing what they were saying about him, walked over to them. I managed to like sneak around, go up above him and kick a toilet onto his head, and that took him out. Now, I spoke to a bunch of people, and so many people got different stories about how they took out this guy, and they didn't have the toilet one. So I think by releasing it episodically like this, it gives you a chance to really sort of, I don't know, like go into little small details, and you really feel like you're in control of what you're doing. So I'm really looking forward to episode 4.
Well, that's it for this week. Take a look at Sky News on mobile, tablet, catch up Sky Q and Snapchat for all the latest tech stories throughout the week, and we'll see you again next time. I'm going to play us out now.